Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2025. I just did another video, How Dumb Can a Person Be with a Smartphone, Part 2, and I misspoke. But this is the fun thing about making videos kind of just on the fly. Less is more. That's what I meant to say, not more is less. But I think when I gave you guys examples, you got the gist of what I was saying. In order for a woman to really get the maximum benefit out of life, she needs to concentrate on doing less in order to get the greatest outcome. So less is more. That's what I meant to say. Less is more. And so to not be so outstanding when it comes to sex, when it comes to promiscuity, less will always be more. More men, if you actually talk to men in terms of dealing with a woman on a serious, not a casual basis, on a serious basis, where a man is thinking about, this is going to be the mother of my children. This is going to be the ideal woman in this situation. When it comes to long-term committed relationships, less is more. If you're a virgin and you don't know nothing about sex, the only thing you know is, I know I just lay on my back and open my legs like a starfish. Just lay there dumb. Less is more. I might have a hard time for the first time having this sexual experience with you, but I'll be so happy if after we get you acclimated to the sex act that you eventually enjoy. That's going to be great, more for me, because if I can pleasure you to the degree that you're in ultimate ecstasy, you're having orgasm, then there's no real reason other than hanging out with whorish women that would motivate you to want to have more experiences with other men. So less is more when it concerns a woman. The converse is true for a man. More money, more experience, more things like, a man who has a car is better than a man that has a bus pass and no car. A man with a car and a motorcycle is better than a man with just a car. A man with a car, motorcycle, and SUV is better than a man who just has a car and a motorcycle. A man with a car, a motorcycle, a SUV, and a yacht is better than everybody underneath. A man with all of those things, a car, a motorcycle, SUV, a yacht, an airplane, is going to be far better than the other guy. But eventually you get to a point of limitation where the number of men that have bus passes outnumber the men with cars. The number of men with yachts are not going to outnumber the men with cars. So the number of men as you go up this ladder of accumulation of items becomes smaller and smaller. And it's easy for men that are at the top of the pyramid to have access and to get what they really want, because they're going to have a lot of women to choose from, because most women are loaded with their value in their sexuality, their beauty, and their youth. It was like, man, just the other day I was hanging out at a, where was I? There was a place with a lot of young women. And I mean young women, like I'd say between the ages of, say, 16 and 20. Can't really remember where I was at. But the long and short of it was, there was definitely something, not just visually in that environment. There was something in the air. And I would say it's pheromones women that are super young, they give off this smell, this odor that is like intoxicating to the male senses. Because on one level, I'm looking at these beautiful women, and not only am I looking at them, but I'm like, ooh, it's like something about the smell. Something about the smell is intoxicating and enhancing. It is enhancing to the experience that I'm having visually looking at these beautiful young women. And it didn't bother me so much as to where I'm like, oh, I got to get after these girls. It was just something that I took notice of as an older man. And maybe because I am at 60 years old, I'm not responding just like, with that animalistic reaction that I had back when I was 25. Because, the more I thought about it, the more I'm sitting there saying, man, I've seen some dynamite women, but it was like when I got up close to them, it was like something like, whoa, man. And actually made me a little nervous sometimes, when I get around these women, like, oops, I don't know why am I shaking all of a sudden? And I think it was because my lust and energy wanted to be satisfied. And my body's saying, do you have what it takes to get this girl in the sack? And it was at a point where I said, no, I don't have what it takes. Maybe that's why I walked away trembling. A lot of women sit here and say, oh, men are intimidated by us. No, we're not intimidated by you. We have biological reactions when we see you. And there's some things about nature that make it so to where when we get overwhelmed by the pheromones and by your physical appearance, that our body just literally goes into like almost near a convulsive state. And it is similar to being nervous, but I was never really nervous to the point where I couldn't keep talking to a woman even after I was experiencing all of these reactions from my body. So I would just think women kind of try to overemphasize, yeah, he was shaking in his boots. I was just, I'm like looking at him, why is he shaking? Well, it's an involuntary reaction, sweetie, to you and the pheromones that God gave you to attract a man to you. And we as men, we start trying to calculate what we got to do to get what we want out of you, which is we want to satisfy the experience with a sexual encounter. We want to do that. But this is where less is more. You run into a guy who's kind of drained his balls, having sex with all these other women, to where when he sees you, his body goes into the same reaction, but it's no longer, overwhelming to him because he's satisfied himself to the degree where encountering you is more just a visual experience because the physical body no longer is energized as powerfully as it would be if he was just, Dry Dick Jr. He's just a goofball who hasn't had any real sexual experience. That's why Tyrone and Chads and Brads can walk up to a woman, fearless, unintimidated, and he's got plenty of conversation and entertainment to get you. And you're like, I really like this guy. Well, you really like him because he's not shaking in his boots trying to come at you, but you don't even realize his attitude is so I don't care. He don't care because he done railed out maybe for the last 5 days. He probably railed out 5 different women, if not more. And now he's running into you. Now his body is more than satiated with the sex that he's been able to get from these women. And I'm pretty sure he was busting 2-3 nuts on these hoes in his 20s. Before, so by the 5th day, he done had 15 nuts. And now he sees you and he's like, she's interesting. Sweetie, blah, 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 cha-cha-cha. Let me get your phone number. You give up the phone number and you're insisting that he calls you. I'm not giving you I want you to have my phone number. And in fact, dial me up before you go. So, and I've seen that on YouTube, And the woman gets upset when the guy goes because after he leaves you, yeah, he was attracted. He thought you were cute, but lo and behold, he found another woman that was even more attractive in his mind than you later on down that day. And he cha-cha-chas with her, and he leaves you and forgot all about you. So these are the things that women aren't taking an assessment on. But the smartphone, getting back to how dumb can a person be with a smartphone, women need to understand that it's not intimidation, because that's an ego boost for you. You're really thinking these guys are intimidated by you. No, they're overwhelmed by the pheromones. They're overwhelmed by their desire to want to have sex with you. And the only reason why you're comparing their negative reaction, that you're looking at it as a negative reaction. Look, he was so intimidated by it. He was just shaking. Oh my God. No, that was just a natural reaction that he couldn't control because he hadn't had sex in like a month. Whereas the guy that you think is so cool and so hot, his balls are drained out. So he could care less whether you give him the sex or not, but he definitely finds you interesting enough to talk to you. Now, I don't think anybody else is going to give you this take, but I've just figured I would give it to you. Even though the video was supposed to be about how dumb can a person be with a smartphone, I'm still going to throw this one out here. But this is more as an addendum to the other one, part 3, that I did just a few moments ago. This is how dumb can a person be with a smartphone, part 4. It's less is more. The less of a promiscuous woman, the better. And being a virgin is like it's almost like a woman coming to the realization after she's been just railed out by all the Chads and all of the Tyrones in her sphere of influence on this smartphone, when she's finally at a point of frustration where none of these Chads or Tyrones are trying to secure a long-lasting relationship, but they call her constantly, looking to rail her out whenever they feel the need to go get her. How smart can you be, or how dumb can you be with a smartphone? This is how dumb you women can be, because you guys are not really paying attention to really what you should be paying attention to. You know, these men are not intimidated. They're just having a nervous reaction that appears in your mind to be intimidation. No, they're just horny. And I think if you were really paying more attention, those are the guys that you might want to actually take the time to deal with, because their balls are full and you'll probably get more mileage out of them than you would with the smooth, suave guy who's probably just finished railing out. He didn't even have time to wash his penis off before running into you. You know, and you might be picking up on the other woman's pheromones, and that might be what's making him interested in you. Because I know back in the day, when I didn't have a girlfriend, yeah, I'd have sex with a girl and, oh shit, I got to go to work. I'd have to go to work. I'd get up, wouldn't even take a whole bath, just put my dirty dick on in my drawers, put my pants on, go to work. Do what I got to do. So anyway, this is just a ramble, but I think you guys find it interesting, maybe entertaining, maybe informative. Talk to you soon.